It's all about preparing and knowing what the cadence is, knowing your body, knowing what speed you can run at, knowing your heart rate that you can sustain this for a longer period, and also having some trust that the process works. Taking that back into email and marketing automation, I would say is part of good preparation is key first to make sure that you prepare, have a good plan, align with your strategies.
Welcome to No-Hacks.show, a weekly podcast in which smart people talk to you about better online experiences. Today, I'm excited to have Omar Lovert with me. Omar is a seasoned email marketing strategist, CRO expert, and founder of Polaris Growth, where he helps brands maximize their impact through tailored Klaviyo solutions. Omar, welcome to No-Hacks.show.
Hey man, thank you. Awesome to be here.
So good to have you on. Yes, it's a pleasure to talk to you, to meet you this way. Hopefully meet you at a conference in the future. Now, No-Hacks.show research team, which is me, did a lot of work at Googling you and what you did in the past. So one article from 2017 caught my eye immediately. You know, your Amsterdam Marathon recap. One thing you did there, preparing there, a friend created a training program for you. You had 100 days of training and the longest run was 14 kilometers. Now, to anyone who ever tried to prepare for a marathon or read about any marathon training plans, that's insane. That's just not how it works. Because you're supposed to have that long run on the weekend. Everyone will tell you that. So what is the equivalent of this approach in the email marketing world?
That's a good question. Awesome question. I think it all comes down to efficiency. So if I take that training, it's a specific set of training. And if you look into anyone that has been into running as well, they will tell you a third of the end distance you want to be running, training a third is enough to be able to run the full marathon. Full distance, like a third of a marathon should be enough training to be to prepare you to run the full thing. So it's all about preparing and knowing what the cadence is, knowing your body, knowing what speed you can run at, knowing your heart rate that you can sustain this for a longer period, and also having some trust that the process works. So taking that back into email and marketing automation, I would say is part of good preparation is key first to make sure that you prepare, have a good plan, align with your strategies. So basically, what's the end goal? And then preparing, going back, and also being efficient with time. For me, running the marathon, preparing for that, I had kids that were still a lot younger back then. They're now 10 and 12. So that's 7 years ago. They were really small. So going on a run for 2-3 hours sometimes was not something that I could actually do. So I had to be efficient about it. And this plan really fitted right into to that program. I hope this answers it a bit.
Oh, it does. But that's exactly how you should approach something that is basically automation. Like email marketing is all about the automation, like being efficient first and foremost, and then everything else. Like that's exactly what it should be. I still cannot believe you ran a marathon with 14K being your longest training run. Like that to me still sounds crazy. But
having a plan is, I think, it is the most important thing, and believing in that plan, because definitely there were times that I was running, I was like, shouldn't I be doing more? It makes you second guess yourself because everybody else is doing something different. But having the faith in the plan that you work up and create, and the strategy that you create beforehand, and then consistently putting time and effort into that actually does pay off. So
absolutely. But you know what? With email marketing as well, if everyone is doing thing A and you try to do thing B, you'll get more people to react to that at least. So, doing something different than everybody else, even though that was not your intention with the runs, you had a reason, but let's say that could work as well. So the main topic of today's episode is something that you told me, that email is not a checkbox and it should not be a checkbox. When you say email is a checkbox to some people, what do you mean there?
Well, what I've seen in the last, I think, 2-3 years, talking with a lot of business owners, a lot of e-commerce managers or marketing managers, they're not getting the results from their email marketing programs. And I think there are a couple of reasons because they're not getting, there are a couple of reasons why they're not getting the results. And basically, for me, it has something to do with, call it a checkbox approach. They don't have the right people in a team, or the people are multitasked with too many different things that they have to do every day that are basically checking their boxes. So basically, we need to send a campaign. Oh yeah, we sent a campaign this week. Or we need to send 3 campaigns this week. Oh yes, I did that. But either it's lack of knowledge, lack of time. People are just checking boxes instead of proactively looking into, hey, how can we do better? Are we sending the same things over and over again to the same people? Should we do something with segmentation? Should we look further than only, hey, we need to send out an email. I sent out an email this week. I did my work. And more and more, I'm getting questions from the founders or from the business owners that, hey, they actually went into a tool like Klaviyo that we use a lot and started looking around. It's like they even get more questions after looking around. It's like, why are we doing this? Why are we not splitting up things? Why are we sending the same message to the same people that already bought this product? And maybe if it's like a mattress, for example, something that people don't buy often. If they already bought a mattress, why keep sending them emails about a mattress if they already have one? The chance of getting like 5 mattresses in the house is slim. But
unless
maybe
there's some crazy things happening at the house, they're very, very
yes,
slim.
definitely.
Yes.
But if you know that, then being a bit smarter about it actually helps you to create new strategies and come up with things. But most of the time, it's either they have lack of knowledge, they don't know how to do it, or there's just not enough time for them to be able to zoom out and work on these things. So I call this more or less a checkbox approach.
And it is like if you have let's say an intern or someone who's like in a general marketing role and they need to send a campaign every week, it's a checkbox. Like it's really a checklist item, and they'll send a campaign. No one probably ever checks, and then 6 months later they look back. All of these campaigns, they did nothing. Why is that? We need to do better, and they come to someone like you for real advice or whatever happens. So passive team attitudes. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Can I add something to it? Because it is both. It's on both sides. One is lack of knowledge, lack of time, but the other side from the business owner as well. It's also about not giving clear goals or like talking about, hey, this is where we actually want to go, and then having discussions around how can we get there. So sometimes it is multi-directional. Sometimes it is indeed the team that doesn't have enough time or doesn't have the knowledge to do their work correctly, or a combination of both. But sometimes it's also from the business owner, the marketing manager that are not aligning their goals and trying to see, okay, how can we use email or marketing automation? What are the things that we need to do if we want to grow 40% this year, for example? How can email contribute to this? What are the things that we could be doing? That also puts people into more creative space to come up with new solutions to do things. And especially what I've also seen that, sometimes in calls with the business owners, they basically say, hey, we are getting emails about the updates that the tools are having, but we're not making use of it. Some of the things like SMS launched in the Netherlands from Klaviyo. They get messages around this, but nobody is using it. So then the question is, okay, does it actually contribute also to your business? There's also something to test out. But there are always like new things coming out, new features coming out that can help like with the results that you're trying to get as well. So, yeah.
Right. No, that's a really good explanation. But I think it goes back to checkbox. Like for so many brands, and the reason it's a checkbox is because there's no long-term strategy. There's no what do you want to achieve? And if you don't know what you're trying to achieve with email, it's going to be like an appendix almost to your marketing strategy. Like, we also need to send this as an email, and you're more likely than not to have bad results if it's like this. So I think starting with the why you're doing email and why you want to do email is probably, but that goes to everything really. Like, if you need to know why you're doing any kind of marketing activity before you start doing it. So that is a bad way. That's the wrong way to do it. Passive approach, just a checkbox that we need to do every week, every month. What's a good way to do it? Like, let's say you get into a Klaviyo account for the first time, and you need to audit it. Basically, you need to see what's going on. What's your strategy there? What are the steps?
Well, that's actually, I just wanted to point it out, but you're good that you're bringing it up, because this is the knowing what bandwidth you still have left, knowing on which areas you can still improve. I think part of the CRO background, like knowledge that I've gathered over the years as well, it's also about knowing how much impact can you make at different areas. If you know that, how much bandwidth is, I call it bandwidth. Basically, if you know that the best performing ones are converting at X% and the worst converting ones are, worst performing ones are doing it like 40% less, they know, okay, this is like the bandwidth in which we can operate. If you're in the middle, there's like still half of it that you can improve things on. So after seeing, I don't know, hundreds of Klaviyo accounts over the years, you start getting a grasp of, okay, revenue is this. Klaviyo is saying it's contributing by X%. That is then split up between automations and regular newsletters. Knowing all these different levels gives you a bit of an indication, okay, the way I normally look at this is like, if you have the total revenue, you want to have at least 20% getting mentioned that Klaviyo is contributing or emails contributing to it. Now, I'm not going to have a discussion around the contribution or the attribution model Klaviyo uses, because that's can of worms or
best not to open it. Yeah, I was going to say
we're not going to dive into right now.
Yep.
But knowing what I see with other brands compared to some brands, that gives you an idea of, okay, there's still improvements that we can make. And also, how much reliant are they on email already? If it's like 5% of the revenue is coming from Klaviyo, for me, that's like a big opportunity to start growing to at least 20%. And then going a bit lower, and that's trying to understand, okay, how are these numbers now? Is automation, are they only relying on automation or are they only relying on campaigns? Normally, I would want to see a 50-50 split between those two, 60-40 or 40-60. If either or one of them is higher than the other, like 80-20, it means the other one can still go up. It's either one of them needs to go up or both need to go up. And then you start peeling off the onion layers and looking at deliverability, open rate, click rates, conversion rates from email. Try to see, okay, what are the elements that are underperforming and we should start focusing on. Sometimes we dive into an account to do. So we have a free audit that we give where we basically walk through all these things together with the business owner or the e-commerce manager, record it, and they can have that to work with it, where we basically look at these things. But also for campaigns, sometimes we see like there's an open rate of 15 or 18%. That's really low because most of them are also like what they call the machine opens.
Yeah, there's the benchmark numbers in Klaviyo as well, where it compares you to websites or lists similar to you. Should you bother looking at those, or do they matter at all?
It's the same with conversion. Conversion rate optimization. Like, what's a good conversion rate? I think if it's better than last month, it's good.
Right.
It gives you some ideas because in Klaviyo you can actually select the industry where you're in, and then they basically will benchmark you against all the other companies that are within the same industry. It will give you some ideas. It will tell you what the best performing things are, which the worst performing things are. But even there, you'll still need to use your brains to see, okay, if it's good, doesn't mean that it cannot be better.
Right.
So also like, hey, how can we now make it even better? Most of the time people are giving out discounts. Yeah, okay, that most of the time, like attributions, that's the only part I'm going to touch about attributions as well. It's like, if you have a welcome flow, you're giving an incentive for people to sign up, which nowadays everyone actually does. Yep. If you want to get more out of that email flow, trying to optimize the welcome flow. So basically, if somebody signs up, they get into a welcome flow. Trying to optimize that, I think, will give you less results than trying to optimize the pop-up, for example. Because if you can get 20% more people signing up, will have a bigger impact than any A/B test you can run within the email flow. So also knowing, what are the relationships between what has a bigger impact on the numbers. But even like the attribution part, what I wanted to mention is that for the welcome flow, part of the people would have probably already bought even without an incentive. Yep. So how much would you trust those numbers? I would also, I would at least slide it by 50% to get like a bit of an accurate number there. But we've done some testing since we do both CRO and Klaviyo. We've done some A/B testing where we basically had version A was without a pop-up, version B was with a pop-up. To have an understanding how the impact of a pop-up has on conversions on the website. And we saw, at least for this client, we saw a big increase, which for me was a bit something I did not expect completely. I think we had on average 29% increase of conversion rates on the site.
With or without the pop-up?
With the pop-up.
With the pop-up, okay.
For me, it was a bit of a interesting result because for putting these things, it's intrusive. It's not something people are waiting on most of the times, but it did have a positive impact. Now we were giving away a free gift on it, but it had a positive impact on the conversion rate as well. So
that's very interesting because like everyone will tell you pop-ups are annoying. Like don't overdo it with pop. And I agree. I'm not going to disagree with that. They also seem to work. Like they also really seem to push the business goals. Also, if you say in the pop-up, like there's a free gift if you buy, or there's a 10% discount code or whatever if you sign up, maybe they don't know this without the pop-up. Like maybe that's the small incentive that will get them to buy. So I'm not too surprised. The only thing I don't like is when I see multiple pop-ups just load. That's just like early 2000s.
Pop-up, and you have
with a virus.
Cookie bar, and you have this and that. So sometimes it becomes a bit annoying indeed. So
you need to be very careful about it. But like I like what you said.
Be careful with it.
It's knowing which knobs to turn. Like maybe you want to get more people to put them into the email funnel. Maybe you need to work later in the welcome flow or in the campaigns. But I agree. Like more people, of course, it's going to be better. Unless you're just buying a list. Let's not say it out loud, but hopefully no one does that anymore. So, I mean,
I haven't had any clients that are doing that, but
it's a thing.
It might still happen.
It's a thing. I'm sure it's a thing.
Collaborating with other email marketing lists sometimes does happen, and I think that's a good approach.
Right.
To combine forces. If you have another company that's doing any services or products that are related to your product but you're not selling, and then seeing if you can exchange products or some things with each other, and then
that could make
basically
sense.
Sending out emails to the same audience with different products. That's something that could work.
That could make a lot of sense. But
buying lists,
no,
I don't think that's a good approach anymore. Especially in Europe, I think.
No, not in Europe. Definitely not in Europe. Hopefully not in Europe. So let's just talk about growing a list. Like, what are the top strategies for growing a list? Obviously, pop-up. We talked about pop-up. What are some other ways you can grow your email list?
List growth is an interesting topic. We have been working with a lot of our clients on a month-by-month basis to, like, okay, we're going to be sending out campaigns. The work we do is like, we're sending out campaigns. We're building on the automations to optimize them, expand them, to deepen them, or add additional automations in on a month-by-month basis. But one of the things that we've been doing as well is continuously working on improving that pop-up. not only, hey, do you want to subscribe or do you want a discount? Getting an email address and first name, but also adding additional steps to collect data that is relevant to understand who the people are, or like what are their goals, what are they looking for? To basically get this like a buzzword, zero party data, to have an understanding of who these customers are, so we can better tailor the messages to them as well.
Right, and then the campaigns,
most simple version
will be based on that, right?
Definitely. Some of this will be behavioral. So, hey, people that did XYZ. Some of this will be definitely about the information that they have provided the customers with, or the companies we are working with.
Right.
It can be anything, the most simple version would be male, female, but that's a bit
lazy.
Too simple.
That's a bit lazy, yeah.
But if you're selling clothing, it might make sense. You don't want to
no, of course,
mix that up too much.
So, of course.
That's also something that behavioral can help you with as well.
And to go back to email being a checkbox, and I think most brands starts with email being a checkbox, and nothing wrong about that. Like, you need to get started somewhere. It's the moving from the checkbox stage to really email being a part of your marketing strategy, and some like 20% or 30% of your revenue, basically. So what are some of the strategies for the brands who want to go from checkbox to, we really do email now, like with hiring people, like going from cost-centric to value-centric hiring mindset? What would your advice be there?
I think it does come down to first knowing where you want to go with your company, with your business. So, for example, if you have for 2024, we're now in 2024. But if for this year, for next year, you know what the goals are. If you want to grow with 20%, with 30%, how are you going to be reaching that goal? Is it through acquisition? You can have goals, but you still have to have like, how are you going to reach that? Do you want to improve your conversion rate on your website? Do you want to work on retention and make sure that retention is going to like drive more of this? Or are you going to put 30% more money in marketing? Marketing is becoming more and more expensive. This has been the trend over the last years. It becomes more expensive. It becomes more difficult to reach the right people. So there are a couple of strategies that on the top level that you already like apply to, okay, we want to grow by X and we're going to do this by A, B, C, D. Email should be in there as well. And email, I think email is not, maybe it's not the right word, that email. It should be maybe retention or automation should be part of that. Because for me, the emails is SMS. It can be other kind of things as well. It can be a loyalty program. It can be multiple things that connect with the email system and then gives you additional things to work with. But it starts with like where we started off with the marathon, preparing, knowing what the end goal is, and then creating the strategies on a quarterly or half-year basis. That's what we actually do as well with our clients. We basically build out a roadmap where on the high level we say, okay, what are the goals that we have for these coming 6 months that are aligned with the goal that the company has? How can we now make it shorter? And then what are the things that are going to be driving the most impact? Let's start with those first and then move forward with that.
Right.
And sometimes there are things that are not revenue related. Sometimes it's like, okay, we need to collect more reviews because in the end, it will help us with social proof. It will help us with maybe even with advertising, that you're able to get all these star ratings in your ads as well. There are multiple things that you can prioritize that might have a bigger impact, but something that, hey, we should be doing that now because this will actually help us in 6 months' time. If we have, 2,000 new reviews, that will gonna help us boost to the next phase. Or customer support, having the right tool in there to make sure that you are servicing your clients better. for me, that's also something that we advise our customers with, which also ties back into email, because one of the tools that we are advising a lot is Gorgias as well.
Mm-hmm.
Connects really well with Klaviyo. It allows us to create segments of people that have open tickets to make sure that we're not sending campaigns to them. So they're like these things that, if you know where the company is headed, it will allow you to create the right strategies to plan that out for the next quarter, for the next 6 months. And we basically bring it down to what are we working on automations, what are we working on campaigns, what are we going to do on list growth, segmentation, and some general stuff that we're working on with it. These are like the different sections that we focus on a month-by-month basis.
Right. I love what you said.
Then it takes...
I love what you said that email, it's not about email. It's about part of the greater retention strategy. And email is just one piece of that puzzle, because it really is. It really should be that. Email it's a method. It's not what you're doing. Actually, there's SMS, there's loyalty programs, there's a ton of other different things.
I think to encapsulate it, actually, it's the customer journey.
Yep.
And yes, I did start out. I used to have my own email marketing platform. I think in 2010, something around there. I stopped with that. I had a lot of knowledge around running email. Stopped with that. MailChimp was really big back in the day, so it was really hard to compete against it. But I moved into CRO for a long time, doing a lot of CRO work. The one thing that actually made me move into more email again,
Mm-hmm.
or combining that, because it actually extends the customer journey. So we, as a CRO specialist, you're mainly, a lot of times, are expected to focus on the website. At least that's what the general tendency is, or that's what people expect. Yeah, a CRO person helps with the website, but while you're doing research, while you're doing interviews with customers, sending out surveys, doing the polls, you start getting more and more information, even looking into the chat logs or the help desk tickets. You get so much information around what happens around after somebody purchases, or the questions people have before they make a purchase. That's like all part of the customer journey. So for me, moving into email actually was a way to enhance the customer journey, because I felt stuck in only doing the website optimization. Like, being able to extend that was actually a really interesting thing to do. And to bring that back to your question, I think that in the end, it is enhancing the customer journey. It's not only email, it's actually trying to understand what touch points you can create or can have with customers to create a better service to them, to tailor better to them, and have happier customers in the end. So this is about improving the whole customer journey.
100%. And then it becomes a collection of checkboxes, a holistic collection of checkboxes, where you really are, I wouldn't say hand-holding the customer throughout the customer journey, but mindful of every single touch point they have with your brand and with your company. And that is the only way to do it. One final question for you. If someone wants to learn about email marketing, what's the best resource for them to do so?
I've not yet found one course that actually is like ultimate best one. In the end, for me, just practice and being really curious and just doing things on your own as well. I mean, we're basically Klaviyo agency. We do a lot of things with Klaviyo. Klaviyo has some really great free resources. They have videos, they have knowledge base, they have a community, which I'm also part of, helping there. But there's so many information there that actually you should actually just start and have an understanding of customer journey. I think there are some good books that talk about database marketing, have some knowledge around RFM, have some knowledge around how marketing works. Actually is the most important thing to do. Like, the technical side on how to build an email, what a good email looks like. Those are things you can either go to reallygoodemails.com and start looking at all the different emails. In the end, it does come to knowing what the end customer wants, what the goals that they have, and being able to tailor the messages to them.
Right.
And then, the technical things, I mean, every tool is a bit different. So you have to create or choose a tool that you can work with efficiently, and then try to learn as much from it as possible.
And just get your hands dirty.
But in the end, the whole database marketing, for me, it's been a journey on my own. I haven't done a lot of courses. It's been reading a lot, trying to be always curious, talking to people. So there's not a real answer I can give you there.
No, but that is a good answer.
To be honest.
The answer is you need to do this. Like, you can't just passively learn about it. You need to act. I mean, there are courses, the Klaviyo Academy, I believe it's called. They have a lot of good resources there.
Definitely.
And that's a good way to be familiar with the platform, the basics of email marketing, all that. But unless you're doing it, unless you're curious about your customers, about your list and people on it and what they need, magic is not going to happen. So that is a perfect response. And maybe there's room for a real course by someone like Omar, who has been doing this for years.
Well,
we don't know.
Yeah, that's I was actually thinking that. But one of the things that I've noticed that recently over the years, I've been getting more and more requests from other people that are starting out or have had like 1 or 2 years of experience doing the things on their own, that actually wanted to join Polaris as well. So basically learn more from people like me or other people in the team. So that might also be one way. Hey, see who is actually actively sharing information. Who are the people that are thought leaders out there, and connect with them, follow what they're doing, ask them questions, maybe even see if you can join their team and learn from that. I think that's a pretty good learning school.
Oh, always, absolutely. So just to say it again, email is not a checkbox. Don't treat it as a checkbox. That is the worst possible way to treat email. If you get started, like the first few weeks, I need to send campaign checkbox, sure. But don't, long term, it's not a checkbox. That will kill you. That will kill your efforts. Omar, I want to thank you for being a No Hacks Show guest. This was an amazing episode. I learned a lot. I know the audience learned a lot. So what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, I think on LinkedIn, I'm always available on LinkedIn. If you type my name, it's Omar Lovert, but if you look at the URL, it's actually Klaviyo. So I've been in Klaviyo for a long time. I think I'm the biggest advocate of the platform. And otherwise, they can always reach me to omar@polarisgrowth.com.
There we go. So thank you again for being the guest. And to everyone listening to this episode, please consider rating, reviewing, sharing the episode, and I will talk to you next week.